So you brought foundation in 3 different shades and none of them actually matches your skin. That's actually quite a common problem. I find that a lot of people have this problem. When they go to the makeup counter, the lighting looks amazing and the foundation smells great, and they get all these products that they get home and then they put it on and it just doesn't match them at all. So how do we actually match our skin tone? So a couple of things that us professional makeup artists look at before we actually select the foundation that we're going to be using on our client. I'm just going to use this palette here just so I can show you a little bit better what I mean. So you can see I have a massive range of different colors here. So the first thing we're going to look at before we choose the foundation is the skin tone. So the skin tone is basically how light or how dark someone's skin is. So let's say I am kind of sitting in a medium range somewhere. So when I'm choosing a foundation for someone that has a skin tone similar to mine, I kind of roughly know where that sits in my palette. Now, the second thing, obviously quite important as well, is your skin undertone. So the skin undertone is that hidden color that we all have in our skin that could be warm, cool, neutral, and olive. So a lot of people get confused with that and they just don't know what undertone they are. I have a video about skin tones and skin undertones, so you can have a look at that and learn a little bit more about undertones specifically. But just to continue how to choose your foundation, we look again at the skin tone, how light, how dark the skin is, and then we look at the undertone. If we look closely at this palette here I have, you can see the ones on the top here, they have a pink undertone. Can you see it's a little bit pinky? This one here and this one here are very similar. So, and that's one of the ones that a lot of people get confused because this one's warm, this one is olive. And the olive doesn't necessarily need to be someone who looks extremely green. Olive is obviously when someone has a little bit more like greenish undertone to the skin. However, a lot of olive people also falls on the golden side of the warm. So there is a little bit of a borderline there. So sometimes some people, when they get a little bit of a tan, they tend to look more olive than they would if they were not tanned. So it can change slightly how green you look basically during summer or winter. So if I look closely here, you see how similar they are? Look at this, the olive shades, and look at the warm shades. They are all very similar. For you to know exactly what foundation to use, we need to do a little color match test. Now, another thing actually I need to remind you is that when you're choosing your foundation, it's not just about the colors or how light or how dark it is, but you also need to think about the consistency, the finish that you want, and your skin type as well. So let's say I have oily skin. In winter, sometimes it's more like a combination, but I do need something that's going to hold that oil for the whole day. So I really need to stay away from water-based foundations because that splits. Water and oil don't mix. So I need to find something that has a stronger silicone base that's going to hold the makeup for the whole day. When the oils start come through, they're just going to blend in nicely and actually not split on my face. So you also need to look at the composition of the foundation when you're choosing the foundation for your skin. To do a perfect color match, I'm going to use this palette because for me it's easier. I have multiple different shades here, so I can actually show you exactly what color to use. The foundation I have on now, it's a different foundation. It's a super full coverage foundation, and it's not the perfect match for my skin, but I'm using that because under the strong lighting of recording is actually really good and it looks nice on the skin. It feels amazing, but it's not the perfect match. So if I pull, so you can see if I pull here, it's not exactly my color. Okay, I do have a little bit of redness here, but that's all good. Now, when I'm matching foundation, and that's something I like to tell everyone, I wouldn't necessarily go straight on the face. I feel like it's always important to look at the whole body as a whole instead of just looking at sections. Now, because it's winter, I have a high neck, so I don't need to consider my arms as much or my legs because everything will be covered. So it's mostly my face and my neck. So if it's summer, you're gonna do makeup on yourself or on a client, and you need to make sure that if that person is wearing a low cut top, you're actually matching everything. So the best way for me to color match someone is to go on the chest, and if that matches, then I'll do a little test on the face. Now, I'm just gonna try a couple different shades so I can show you how to find your perfect foundation shade before you go to the counter and spend more money. So I have a few different options here. I know which one matches my skin, but let's just try this one for a second and I can show you where it is. Let's see if you guys can see. So if I place this here on my skin and I blend this, you can kind of see a shadow, yeah? You can see the shadow, you can see what that foundation is. So it's just sitting just there. That's not the right color for me. This one has a lot of pink on the undertone. I don't know if you can see. Now I'm gonna try the one that is sitting next to it. So the first one I tried was this one, and now I'm gonna try this one. So I'm gonna place that right next to that first color. I'm gonna place the second one. You can see how many blemishes I have on my skin. My face looks perfect because I have a full coverage foundation. So that's the color number one. I'm gonna place color number two just here. And we're gonna blend that into the skin. And that kind of disappears a little bit. This one feels like a really good match. This one, you can see it's pink. This one, where is it? It almost disappears. So I feel like it's a little bit too dark, which it is because I know my shade. But you can tell the difference, how this one is visible, this one not so much. So ideally what you want is to, when you try a foundation, when you put it on the skin, you can't even see where you actually place that. So the next one I'm gonna try is that one. It's probably gonna sit a little bit too yellow on my skin as well. And I'm just gonna try to place, let's do it here, just there. It's a closer match as well, but you can still see how we can still see that shadow just there? So that is something you don't want. So from these three shades here that we tried, I can see that the middle one is very, very close to a good match to my skin at the moment. If you're still not sure about skin tones and undertones and color theory, you can download the free color theory guide from the link below, and you can actually learn a little bit more about skin tones, undertones, and color theory in general before you go and select your foundations. So when you go to the counter, before you go and buy another 10 shades of foundation trying to match to your skin, always get them to test first on your chest and then ask them to do a little test on your jawline and see if that blends. Please do not let them match your neck. Your neck is never the same color as your face because your neck usually sits in the shadow, doesn't get the same sun exposure as everything else. So it tends to be a different shade. So if someone comes and color matches you here, please run because that is not how you're going to get the right skin tone. And if we then have a client, let's say that we have certain foundations, we don't usually carry 20 shades of the same foundation. We need to adjust. So let's say if I have a client, this one is like, it's an olive foundation, as you can see. I'm just going to put that on my hand. You can hardly see because that's very close to my skin tone. Don't know if you can see it there, just there. So then if I have a client that doesn't perfectly match this foundation, I need to make adjustments. I need to make sure that my foundation actually going to match my client. I find that a lot of people actually, even at home, not being professional makeup artists, they do struggle to find a perfect match. So sometimes they have to buy different shades and mix it, and they just don't know how to adjust it. As professional makeup artists, we do have products like this. So I use this a lot, and you've probably seen this a lot on my videos as well, because this little guy here can help you adjust any undertone of any foundation. So if, let's say that foundation I have here, it's more like on the olive side. So I'm gonna use a little bit of red because that's gonna help me neutralize that shade. So you can see I'm just mixing this here on my little palette. I don't know how much you can see, but the first shade was just here. The second shade is here. It's slightly different. Maybe I'll just place it on my wrist. That's probably easier for you to see. Okay, so on my wrist, you can see that a little bit better. So this this first shade here is the original, and the other one here, we mixed a little bit of red. So you can see here a little bit better. I'm just going to add a little bit more red so you can see the difference a little bit more, and you see how much we can actually adjust foundations just by mixing these primary colors. So I'm just adding a little bit more on that same mixture, and I'm just going to place this here. So you can see now the three shades. Sorry, I've done in wrong order. So the one in the middle is the original. This one here is the one we mix a little bit of red. This one, a lot of red. So you can see the differences on the skin undertone just by adding a little bit of the other primary colors. So this is how we actually adjust the shades between clients. So if we have clients, we have models, depending what kind of work you're doing, we don't actually carry that many different shades because sometimes it just gets too expensive and also heavy in your kit. Another thing I like to do as well, I like, this is the MAC Pro Fard Cream, MAQ Pro. So it's a French brand, and I really like getting the Fard Cream foundations, and then I have little samples like this. So I have a little bit of every color, so I can actually cater to whatever client sits on my chair. I do have another palette with the darker shades as well. So, as a makeup artist, I guess it's good for us to have options, but also to know how to adjust this. But for you at home, if you just need to find your right shade, think about again about your skin tone, how light, medium, or dark it is, and then look at your undertone. Try to adjust that according to your undertone. Match to your chest first, then match to your face. Please do not match to your neck. Your neck is always going to be a different color than the rest of your body. And go to the counter and ask them to do the same. Get samples, try the makeup before you go in and buy another full bottle of foundation. If you like this video and you want any other little tips and tricks on color theory and makeup, subscribe to my channel.